Logan Paul is not doing very well. So a YouTuber named LegalBytes just posted a video, new scummy Logan Paul text sinking his lawsuit against CoffeeZilla. And this video basically exposes some new information that shows why Logan Paul's lawsuit against CoffeeZilla is a complete fail. Now, quick recap for people who don't follow the story. A while back, CoffeeZilla exposed Logan Paul for his crypto scams with a very popular YouTube series. And Logan Paul did the logical thing and, instead of just paying back the victims from CryptoZoo, the people that he actually scammed, he decided to sue CoffeeZilla for defamation, insisting that he is not a scammer. But unfortunately for Logan, there's been some leaked text message from his side which show that Logan Paul was not actually suing CoffeeZilla for any legitimate reason like defamation, but actually the text seemed to show that he was just trying to make CoffeeZilla's life hell. In fact, in one of the texts, he refers to himself as a petty billionaire. And the thing is, when the court sees some of these texts of Logan essentially admitting the reason behind his frivolous lawsuit, Logan Paul is 100% going to lose this case, and that's going to have some wonderful implications. CoffeeZilla might even be paid damages for the time and resources wasted and the attack on his reputation. And it's basically going to end up costing Logan several $1,000,000 more than just paying back the CryptoZoo victims. So let's check out this video and see how screwed Logan actually is.
A couple years ago, CoffeeZilla came out with a 3-part video series on YouTube about Logan Paul's NFT project called CryptoZoo. In it, CoffeeZilla told the story of the failed project from the perspective of the people who lost money investing in it. And as is often the case with the videos CoffeeZilla makes regarding failed crypto projects, the essential conclusion of the series was Logan Paul scammed these people out of their money. The series blew up, and as a result, Logan Paul threatened to sue CoffeeZilla for defamation. Then he backed down and pseudo-apologized, and then pledged to kind of pay back all the people who lost money in the project, and even thanked CoffeeZilla for bringing all of this to light.
So this was the classic Logan Paul tactic of, I'm actually a big fan of CoffeeZilla, I love his work, until he started exposing me. Now I actually hate him, and now I'm going to sue him. And I just love how Logan Paul thought he had any chance in this case at all, when there's literally videos of him admitting that he messed up and he was in the wrong, and then he apologized for being in the wrong. So that's obviously going to send a signal to the jury that you admitted that you did some wrongdoing and you did some sort of scam. Then she talks about how Logan waited literal years to actually sue CoffeeZilla because he just couldn't find anything to get him on because CoffeeZilla just did not make any false statements. And he ended up waiting so long that the statute of limitations on those statements was about to run out.
Thomas Kirker, also known as Attorney Tom on YouTube, good guy by the way, filed a class action lawsuit representing the alleged victims of the CryptoZoo project, alleging, among other things, fraud. Some time after that, Logan Paul decided to sue CoffeeZilla for defamation after all. A defamation claim has to be filed within 1 year of the publishing of the statement that gives rise to the defamation claim. Otherwise, it gets barred by the statute of limitations. And that's definitely true in Texas, which is where these cases were filed in federal court. And looking back, CoffeeZilla's original 3-part CryptoZoo series was published in December 2022. Meanwhile, Paul waited until June 27th, 2024 to file his defamation claim, a year and a half after CoffeeZilla basically throttled him in the public sphere. This means Paul couldn't sue over the original YouTube series. He had to find other more recent statements that CoffeeZilla made about basically the same subject and sue him over those.
So somehow this has been going on for literal years now with no resolution, and Logan Paul, being the complete moron that he is, decided to take the little scraps left to him by CoffeeZilla and somehow create a lawsuit out of it, right? And it's just insane to me that the initial series actually exposing Logan Paul, calling him a scammer, apparently had no defamatory statements. Logan and his entire team of lawyers couldn't find a single thing in the entire series to sue CoffeeZilla for, and they ended up having to wait for a follow-up video CoffeeZilla made years later saying how Logan still hasn't paid back his victims. So Logan's own behavior here just shows that he actually had no case and he had to just desperately file the lawsuit before the statute of limitations was about to expire. Now let's take a look at the 3 statements Logan chose that he thinks qualify as defamation.
The first was on June 29th, 2023, when CoffeeZilla posted on X, Logan Paul really is the type of dude to thank you when you expose a scam, then block you when you remind him to pay up.
Right, so I'd love Logan and his team of lawyers to explain to me what exactly is defamation in this tweet. You did literally thank him when Coffee exposed your scams, and then you blocked him when you told him to pay up. I don't know how he thinks that this qualifies as defamation, unless it's some sort of like super niche thing where, oh, actually, Logan blocked him before Coffee told him to pay up, so actually it's not exactly true here. I feel like no judge is gonna look at that and be like, oh yeah, actually Logan Paul is in the right here. The self-proclaimed petty billionaire. And you can tell how desperate Logan was when there were several videos criticizing him and he had to go and choose this freaking tweet instead. You clearly have nothing on him.
Then the second statement was on June 30th, 2023, when CoffeeZilla posted a video to YouTube titled Logan Paul's Scam Isn't Over.
All right, let's just quickly read what he's trying to argue here. The video purported to be about Logan's offer to buy out holders of CryptoZoo egg NFTs, but in reality, the purpose of the video was to continue to lob false accusations at Paul so that he could profit from achieving more views by leveraging Paul's fame and celebrity. Right, so their tactic here is to say that CoffeeZilla just wanted views and money, and that's why he's done these things. Wow, guilty as charged. YouTuber tried to make a video for views. I mean, if the information in the video is true, there's absolutely nothing Logan Paul can do about this. In addition to the title directly accusing Paul of intentionally defrauding people via a scam business, the opening lines of the video refer to CryptoZoo as a scam created by Logan Paul. CoffeeZilla left no doubt that he was accusing Paul of intentionally defrauding individuals. Yeah, I think that's pretty clear. Declaring to his audience that Paul was guilty and his offer to reimburse buyers of egg NFTs was an admission of guilt, stating that Paul was just pretending he changed. I mean, yeah, if you're gonna apologize and say you want to refund the people, I mean, people are going to assume that yes, you were actually doing a scam. That's right, guys. I'm just gonna promise to refund people millions of dollars for no reason. Actually, I did nothing wrong, but I'm still gonna refund them millions of dollars. Sure, as if that's the way Logan Paul's mind works. Also, what I imagine he's trying to argue with the title Logan Paul's Scam Isn't Over is something ridiculous, like I might be a scammer, but I ended my scamming ways earlier. And I think what Coffee meant by that is that the fact that you still haven't paid back the victims, and that's what he means by the scam isn't over. And again, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't tell you how this runs in court, but the person who made this video definitely is a lawyer, and she seems to think that Logan is screwed, so I'm just gonna listen to the lawyer here.
And the third statement is another YouTube video which CoffeeZilla published on January 5th, 2024, titled Logan Paul's, quote, refund. So those first two statements were literally like 2 or 3 days away from expiring under the statute of limitations before Paul filed his complaint for defamation.
Logan really thought about this for an entire year, like, maybe let me be a good person and pay back the CryptoZoo victims, or let me just start the legal process like an absolute clown. Now let's just read this portion again. It seems like their main argument is that CoffeeZilla is using Logan Paul for views and money, but again, his real purpose in publishing the video was to make more money by airing false accusations about Paul. This lawyer is desperate, bro.
Anyway, the gist of these statements is CoffeeZilla called Logan Paul a scammer, and Logan Paul says that he's not a scammer, and also says that CoffeeZilla knew Paul wasn't a scammer because he had seen behind the scenes evidence that Paul was really a good guy who was just trying to do his best, man.
Yeah, Logan Paul is just a nice guy, you know, trying to do his best. I honestly don't understand why people hate him. Personally, I would trust Logan Paul with all the money in my bank account, actually. He's just that good guy, you know, who uploads a dead body to YouTube for views, you know, that type of good guy. Tries to sue a guy and ruin his life over criticizing him on the internet. Just a good guy. Then she talks about how CoffeeZilla wants to combine the two cases and litigate them together. Basically, Logan Paul suing CoffeeZilla and the class action lawsuit from the CryptoZoo victims, right? And it makes sense to combine the cases so it saves the court time and helps quickly prove whether Logan Paul is actually scamming people.
So CoffeeZilla's motion is, like I said, asking to transfer the venue of this lawsuit from San Antonio to Austin to be litigated with the class action case, and so that the other court can see if maybe the two cases should be consolidated together into one case. He says there's enough overlap between these two lawsuits that it makes sense. It saves everyone involved, including the court, both time and money. He essentially says we're using a lot of the same witnesses, a lot of the same evidence, and there's a question that needs to be answered in both cases, and that is, did Logan Paul defraud the people who invested in CryptoZoo?
Yeah, let me save the court some time here. In my personal opinion, it's definitely a yes, all right? I mean, come on. I feel like this should be an open and shut case. He promised to deliver a bunch of things in CryptoZoo, so a bunch of people invested, put their money in it. He did not deliver on any of his promises, and then a bunch of people ended up losing tons of money, and they all felt like they got scammed. He didn't deliver on any of the promises, so I'm gonna say yes, all right? And you can't be really defamed if the statement is actually true. And that is basically CoffeeZilla cited the argument that he's actually just bright when he says Logan Paul is a scammer.
And if you're familiar with defamation, you know that truth of a statement is an absolute defense to defamation. So if it turns out that Logan Paul, in fact, did defraud / scam all of these CryptoZoo investors, and a court effectively concludes that, whether it's a judge or a jury, that conclusion effectively cuts Logan Paul's defamation claim at the knees.
Yeah, the thing is, Logan Paul really messed up by even opening up this lawsuit in the first place, because before, he just had a bad reputation and he would have to pay back a couple $1 million to the CryptoZoo victims. And now Logan Paul's reputation is 10 times worse, and he's going to end up having to pay way, way more money than just a few millions of dollars to the CryptoZoo victims. And like during this time, he's been seen bragging time and time again about how incredibly rich he is, about how Prime was earning millions of dollars in a day. So most people have just been confused. Why would Logan just choose to go the hard way? And I think the answer is pretty obvious. It's his ego. It's his massive ego. You know, these people just cannot accept that they are wrong, and he's going to go to court and he's going to be proven guilty in a court of law, and he's going to end up having to pay way, way more money. And sure, he got his goal of stressing out CoffeeZilla a little bit, but I feel like he'll still go down as a legend for exposing you, and you will still go down as one of the most hated YouTubers in history. Okay, now CoffeeZilla brings up the leaked texts that show that Logan was just trying to be petty with this lawsuit.
In this recent filing, CoffeeZilla basically says that the real reason that Paul filed this defamation claim isn't to get compensated for being defamed by him, just to be a self-described petty billionaire using his massive wealth to essentially bankrupt CoffeeZilla through litigation. CoffeeZilla says that in addition to scheming this backdoor into the class action case, Logan Paul filed this case to use his billions of dollars to destroy CoffeeZilla in retaliation for making him look bad, and to serve a message to anyone who might criticize him. Specifically, he says, Paul is also using this lawsuit to punish CoffeeZilla, whom Paul perceives as his online nemesis, and make him a cautionary tale to other critics.
He's a little gnat. He's like a little fucking annoying gnat, and it bothers me. He won. He got to me, bro. He's the most formidable opponent I've had.
Logan is such a moron. Like, I don't know what he's even saying here. CoffeeZilla is literally just a guy who was exposing a bunch of crypto scammers, and you happen to be one of them. He's not like your arch nemesis. He's not trying to box you, or he's not trying to like be your rival in anything, or whatever the hell you think this is. Logan thinks this is some like weird anime villain arc or something, but Coffee just wanted justice for the victims and for the people who got scammed. Anyways, let's take a look at some of the leaked texts that CoffeeZilla got from Logan's phone.
First, there's this. Logan Paul says, lawyering up, suing this MFer into the ground. Then his friend says, then everything will come out, court docs public. Then Logan says, so everyone will see what happened for better or for worse. And just pausing for a moment to note the irony in that they are talking about everything coming public. Maybe they didn't realize that that included these text messages. Then the texts go on where the friend says, to let others know it's not worth coming at you, and there's a price to pay. To which Logan responds, that's the idea, need to shut it down. Then the friend continues, public humiliation is always more effective, and Logan responds, totally agree. And then CoffeeZilla says, Paul also admitted that he's suing him just to make his life difficult. And he says, Zilla will pay one way or another. I'll make sure of it. And even when CoffeeZilla says one of Paul's friends tries to talk him out of the idea of spending time trying to punish CoffeeZilla by stating, bro, you're a billionaire, Paul responds with, a petty billionaire.
Ooh, yeah, these are not looking good, Logan. Ay, ay, ay. Suing him, quote, just to make his life difficult. I wonder how the jury is going to react to that one. And calling yourself a petty billionaire. Don't you know, Logan? People love billionaires. I'm sure that's gonna go down very well with the court, you know? I love how these texts just essentially expose that this is a frivolous lawsuit and he's just being petty and trying to ruin someone's life who criticized him on the internet. And this was my initial theory. I was literally like, this is exactly what Logan Paul's trying to do. He's trying to bog down CoffeeZilla with immense legal expenses so he can't fight back. And he's basically using his wealth to try to suppress this guy. And it turns out I was right on the money. All right, this Logan Paul is an absolute scumbag. And if it couldn't get worse, Logan Paul gives us this gold nugget.
And finally, CoffeeZilla says that Paul even admits that he just wants to make CoffeeZilla suffer along with anyone else he feels has wronged him. And here he attaches text where Paul says, I want people who wronged me to suffer while I continue getting wins on their grave.
Ooh, no way Logan is using the word grave after the Japan forest incident. Of course, Logan would love to dance on someone's grave. In fact, even film it, the absolute degenerate. So let me get this straight. You say you want people who wronged you to suffer. You say you're a petty billionaire. And you say you're suing him just to make his life difficult. Yeah, it seems to me, Logan, you don't actually have a case, that you just made something up to try and drain CoffeeZilla's resources in a multiple year-long court battle. And yeah, that's just not going to go down well when it eventually goes to trial. People are going to see that you're trying to exploit the legal system with your immense wealth, and they're going to realize that you're an absolute A-tier scumbag, literally the worst type of person.
But you know, these texts aren't just bad in the court of public opinion. They were introduced here to show the judge that Logan Paul has admitted multiple times over that he has both the desire and the resources to destroy CoffeeZilla, and that this poses a risk to the efficiency and economy of the case to everyone involved.
You know, if there's one thing I learned from watching a bunch of lawyer TV shows, like I watched The Lincoln Lawyer recently as well, and basically all these courts absolutely hate it when you waste everybody's time. Like, I swear half the dialogue in every lawyer show is the judge saying, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, you know? Or hurry up like paraphrased in some other way, right? So I imagine Logan wasting this much time of the court is going to be seen in quite a bad way, right? Literal supervillain of a person, and he tries to pretend he's like some normal person. Might I remind you, this guy was the guy who was promoting his products at the birth of his child, all right? Complete sociopath, in my opinion.
If this case does end up going in front of a jury, these texts can also serve the purpose of sinking Paul's defamation case. In any civil case that actually goes to trial, the plaintiff basically has to testify. So one of the first questions Logan Paul's lawyers are likely to ask him on direct examination is, why are you bringing this lawsuit?
Because I'm literally a massive scumbag. There is no other reason. And honestly, I still do see like one or two Logan Paul fans in my comment section every time I make a Logan Paul video. And I'm just like, how? Like after the 20 videos I've made showing you how much of an absolute scumbag this guy is, if you're still a fan of Logan, you need some serious help, all right? I just can't believe he still gets views on his videos and stuff like that. I mean, it's like a ticking time bomb at this point. Then she talks about how this is going to appear to the general public and to the court.
But when one side can characterize an act as mere pettiness, but the other side experiences it as a potentially life-destroying act, it comes across as cruel. It feeds into this narrative that already exists where Logan Paul is the selfish, immature billionaire bully and CoffeeZilla is the scrappy independent journalist fighting for truth and fighting for the little guy.
I mean, that's literally how it is though. Coffee is just trying to expose the truth to the people. Logan couldn't take it and went on a billionaire man baby meltdown, and I just can't wait till this actually goes to trial and Coffee finally wins and Logan has to pay an obscene amount of money. I'm hoping like in the 9 figures here, all right? Because this dude can't be allowed to get away with this type of bullshit, because if it's just a couple $1 million, I mean, Logan would have learned nothing from this, right? Because that's just pennies to him. So I don't know. I feel like I want a bigger sort of punishment, something that actually affects Logan Paul, you know? So he'll stop doing this type of scum shit. Anyways, here's what people are saying. I recall CoffeeZilla once said that he can't hurt Logan Paul's name more than he did to himself. Exactly. This guy's reputation is already in the gutter. Trying to argue defamation is just not going to go well. I was a fan of CoffeeZilla until my lawyer's texts were leaked. Logan Paul's everything wrong with celebrity culture. To be rich and famous so you can ruin someone's life just to be petty is beyond scummy. All Logan Paul had to do was refund the people who ripped off in the CryptoZoo thing. But he just couldn't do it. He had to let his inflated ego get the best of him and go after CoffeeZilla instead. Please God, let this go go to trial, a trial that is streamed live to the masses so Paul can make a complete fool out of himself while thinking he's going to destroy CoffeeZilla. I would cover the heck out of that trial, man. I hope that happens. Coffee's lawyer, Your Honor, Exhibit 1, CryptoZoo still hasn't been finished. Anyways, click this video or you have to eat Prime and Lunchly every day for the rest of your life.